Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. We're going to talk about reports today. All right, so I want to present myself quickly. I'm Anna Walter. I'm the product manager at ClicData, and I'm going to be presenting the reports module today. And we have also Sri Neve, our VP of Operations. He's going to be answering your questions on the chat, so don't hesitate to ask anything you want. All right, so let's dive in. On today's agenda, we are first going to look at reports and what is a report versus a dashboard, which is the other analytics and visualization module we have in ClicData. And then we're going to talk about when to use reports, and then we're going to look at some examples. And finally, we're going to do a demo to show how to build a report, and then also look at the examples which we've seen before and how they were constructed. Okay, let's start with the first piece. What are reports? So reports are a way to visualize data in a specific structure. So the concept is the following. We usually have a cover page and a back cover page. Cover page is like the front page of a document, and we have multiple pages after that cover page that actually show the data that is fed into the report. And there can be as many pages as needed to cover all the data from the data sets used in the report. So this is something we're going to look at later. It's an example of a profit and loss reports. And here you can see it's just conceptualized here to see the cover page, back cover page, and then all the content which has the data. So basically the concept is the following. So the report is multi-page. That's really the big difference with dashboards. And it will display all the data from the data tables you use. So meaning that if you have a report based on a data with 10,000 rows, it will be longer than a report based on data which has maybe 10 rows, because the report is going to paginate as long as there is data to show. The concept is actually a list of things that you show and that are grouped in certain ways. The reports usually is an A4 or letter format. It's a perfect format that can be printed, and yeah, you can also, of course, share it as a PDF output. And what is a report not? A report is not interactive, so it's not a visualization support that you can interact with. You can only read it. And then it has not a variable format. It's always a A4 or letter format actually, and it doesn't have a fixed length. Just because of what we said before, you have as many pages as needed to display all the data from your data tables. So just versus dashboards, what's the difference? Again, the big difference is this paginated idea of a report, whereas a dashboard has a fixed size, height, and width, and the dashboard will show aggregated data mostly, and charts and graphs, etc. Of course, you can also have tables and lists in the dashboard, but that list or table will have a fixed size, whatever, and then maybe you will be able to scroll within that list. So in the report, there's no scrolling really; it's just more pages. All right, so when do we actually use reports? I'm just going to look at a few examples. So best time to use a report is when you want all your data to be visible in a document. And if you're looking for a tabular format, that's really the perfect documents to generate. And also if you're looking to do groupings with subtotals, for example, we'll look at a few examples later. And also if you want to share this at a specific cadence, for example, if it's something like a status report or a end of the month report or list of items, and these lists need to be generated and shared in a very specific cadence, like every month, every year, every week, for example. And that's something that you can automate, right? So a report can be scheduled and can be sent in a specific cadence and generated at the same cadence, of course, to share it with customers, with stakeholders, and teams. So, for example, in the finance sector or department, this is a very common way to share information. For example, financial summaries by end of quarter, end of semester, things like profit and loss statements. We're going to look at an example later on, or balance sheets, things that are really listing accounting and accounts, sorry, and results and balance, etc. Also in the sales department, you can find things like sales summaries or performance for sales reps or product performance. Again, we're going to look at a few examples from this case as well. All right, so I hope you have an idea now of what are reports and how they are different from dashboards. We are going to look at a few examples now to make all of this a bit more visual. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I hope this is now visible. So let's look at a first example here. So this is a profit and loss report for 4 countries. So we have Canada, Singapore, Spain, and the US. And it was generated on February 2024. We have a first introduction page here, which talks about the performance of that company and gives some general information. And then we're going to dive into that report piece, the listing. So as you can see, we have for Canada, we have semester 1 and semester 2. And then we have a breakdown of the profits and the expenses for that country and that semester. And then we have the same thing exactly for Singapore, for Spain, and for the US. And then at the end, we have that back cover page, which is the conclusion. Sorry. And which closes the report. So that's one example. Let's have a look at another one here. So this one is a stock level report, which is generated every day for an inventory manager, for example. And we can see here at the top, let's make it a bit bigger maybe. We have a report which goes through different brands that are of products which are stored in the inventory and in the supply facility, and we can see that they are also subcategorized into types of products and then into different categories of product as well. And then for each product, we can see the current stock and the reorder priority, which is explained at the top here, and also some information about the margin for that product. So as you can see here, the priority is differing from one product to the other. And that report is there to help that supply manager to know when a product needs to be reordered. And of course, that priority is calculated based on the data which is coming in. So every time the report is regenerated, that priority will change. And that way, the supply manager will be able to take action on these products. And so we go here through a lot of product items, etc. And we have a cover page which is blank. By the way, that cover page could have been left out. It's not a mandatory element in the report. And now let's look at that last example. So this one is a guest list in a hotel, which can be used by the person at the reception desk to have information on every person, every guest in the hotel every day. And we can see here, again, let's zoom in a little bit. We can see here that for each floor of the hotel, there is a list of all the guests, and we can have some information on the room that guest is currently occupying, and also how many adults, children, babies, when they arrived, when they're leaving, and the services they have paid for. So that will enable the desk manager to actually care better for the guests, because he or she will know what the guests can expect maybe that day. If someone is leaving, it would be interesting to to make sure that they had a nice day. And we have some instructions here at the top. You can say, for example, here, this is the last day of the guest. Say goodbye and make sure they leave happy. So that list will be helpful on a day-to-day basis for the desk manager. All right, so now we've seen a few reports. We're going to create one. And then we're going to go back to these examples and see how they were created. So I'm going to jump into my ClicData account. So the reports are available under the analytics section. And as with any other module in ClicData, you can organize your objects, your reports into folders, team folders, personal folders. All right, so let's click on Add New to create a new report. So this one is going to be for car sales. So I'm going to select the data I want to use here. I'm going to pick this one. So we can see here what it contains. So it's a sales performance data table. So we have countries. In each country, we have sales reps. And for each sales rep, we have different car models that were sold. And we have the prices, the quantities, and then the total sales. So I'm going to select that. All right, so now we are in the report editor. So maybe just one more word about the data, by the way. It's important to have the data prepared in a way that it will show the granularity you want. In this case, I want to create a report that will show me for each sales rep which car model and how much cars were sold. So I have actually prepared the data to be laid out this way and to have the lowest granularity at the car model level, because that's the granularity I want to show in the reports. So let's go back here. So here on the report editor, we can see this really important drill down list here that will show the structure of the report. So in the very first element here, we can see it's everything about the report as a global. So you can choose, for example, to change formats here, and also the page orientation, and then decide on margins, etc. You can decide if you want to have a cover page, a front cover page, and a back cover page or not. If they are visible or not, you can see it disables here. And also you can change the data, of course, which you're using here. You can also add filters for the whole report if needed, and also runtime filters. Runtime filters will be actually run only when you generate the report manually, and it will ask you for a specific filter at that time. And then you can also create groups and sorting. So before going back to that, I want to show you the structure first, but we will need to create groups. So when we look then at the other elements here, the front cover page is the place where we decide how the front will look. And this is, for example, we can use some templates, or we can create elements from scratch. And if we want to create a dedicated or customized page, we can simply use these elements. So you can see you have images, you have shapes, lines, icons, and then each element can be customized. So in this case, I'm just going to use that template here. So I'm applying that here, and I want to change this element. So you can see we have an outline here. The text here, I want to change that. This is going to be a car sales report. Okay, maybe I'm going to make this a bit smaller so we can better see. And maybe I don't want to keep these elements. I'm just clicking on them and just removing them as we go. Okay, Great. And then you can see on each element that you click on the right, you have access to the properties, to the styling, and then to interactions. So in this case, maybe I want to change that color, make it a bit more bluish. And here we go. I'm happy with this. All right, so the front cover page and back cover page have very similar features. What is interesting now is actually to go into the content page. So as you can see, the content page is divided into different sections. The details section is really the lowest level of granularity we want to show. In our case, it's going to be the car model. And then we have a report header, which is going to be displayed only on the very first page of the pagination. And then we have the page header, which is going to be displayed on every page, which is, for example, useful for things like pagination or the report name or things like that. And then same thing for the report footer. So the footer will be only shown at the very last page of the pagination, and the page footer is visible on every page. Okay, so let's click on this one. So I'm just going to make that a bit bigger. Okay, here we go. Right. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust it a bit so we can see better what's going on. All right, so we can see here we have these different elements. For example, the page header is everything here up to this handle here, which I can actually increase if I want. And same thing for all the other elements. So I can, for example, the detail element, I can make that bigger or smaller, and same for all. And then each of these elements can also be disabled, meaning they will not be visible in the reports at the end. So let's start with an example. Here, I want to actually show my car models, right? So I'm just going to drag my field over here. And it's going to open the schema of the data I have used. In this case, I want to select car model. So I'm just clicking that. So it's going to be showing the car model over here. Right, let me just save that. Okay. There was just a little glitch here. I think it's because of the of the focus. All right, so we have the car model here, and I'm just going to show you directly how it looks. So if I want to see the result of my report, I'm just going to click here on View Reports so that you have an idea of the rendering of this element. So we have the cover page, and then here we have the list of all the car models. So this is not very interesting, right? I actually want to show the car models by sales rep and by country. So for that matter, I actually need to go back to my reports entry and add some groups here. And the groups are exactly what I just said. I want to have country and I want to have sales rep in that order. So you can see you can reorder if you want. You can also change the sorting of each element. And then we can also add general sorting, which we're going to do. We're going to do sorting on the sales, I think. We're going to sort by sales descending, meaning that for each element for each section, we're going to sort the car models by digressive sales. All right, now back to our report. Now we can see we have a lot of new elements here. So we have groups which have been added, because for each of the groupings that we have created here at the group level, we will have a group header and a group footer. So going back to the content page, we can see this now has been added over here. And we can select all of these. And again, we can disable them if we want. So now what I want to see is actually my car models by sales rep name and by country as well. So I'm just dragging in the same element again, sales rep in this case, and I want to see country over here. Here we go. So this means that whenever we create a sub element like this, it will display, and it will go through the data and just paginate through every occurrence of the data and show that element. Let's say, for example, we also want to see in the details, we want to see the prices, right? And the quantities. Here we go. All right. Let's view how it looks. Here we go. So you can see now for Canada, I can see Brian Adams has actually sold all of these cars with the elements. So I haven't formatted them yet, but of course I can do that. And then we have Céline Dion, which is also in Canada, which has also sold some cars. And then we are going to France, Charles Aznavour, Danny Boone, etc., and in Japan, etc., etc. So this is how the report is built level by level. Right, and then you can also have interesting things like in the footer, for example, here at the sales rep level, I want to add something like a summary field, which is actually the summary of all the quantities sold. So in this case, what I'm just going to do is rename this field to quantity because it's going to be useful. And here in the summary field, I'm going to say, well, I want actually the summary of quantity. And I want to sum, and I want to group this by sales rep. So I'm going to have here the quantity of all the cars sold for that sales rep within the country. I can add as well a label. Let's do that. Okay. Here we go. And then, sorry, I missed this one. Quantity. Here we go. All right, let's look at the result. Here we go. So you can see for Canada, Brian Adams, the quantity for the sales rep is 521. And of course, I can format all of these elements. For example, the quantity, if I want to say that this is a number, I'm going to do that here. And then I have all the elements I want. I can, of course, also change things like styling the font, etc. All right. So as you can see, this is how you construct a report. And now we're going to look into the reports we've seen in the examples and look at how they were constructed, just to gain some time. All right, so let's start with the profit and loss. I'm just going to show that again here. Here we go. So what we're going to look at is how this was built. Okay, so in this case here, we have two groupings. We have country and semester, as you can see here. And also we can see we have a filter on a year. So here there was a little trick to create that very first page here. So this is the cover, but then here we have an extra page. How did this work? This is actually, this has been done via the report header. Remember, the report header is shown only at the very first, on the very first page of the pagination. And because we've made it so big, it actually shows on a separate page. And then this group header here, we can say that here we have a page break. So that way we ensure that this element here, this report header, will be shown on a separate page. All right, we can see also the page header, we have some elements here, confidential, do not distribute. And at the bottom, we have a calculated field, but that's not what I want to show. Yeah, we have a page index field, which is this one, which will show each page number on each page. All right, but that's not really what we want to look into. what is interesting here is this element here. So we can see all the report is built by these elements. So the country, the semester, and then the different elements of the data. So we have different fields here, the net revenue, the cost of goods sold, and you can see I've renamed them here. Yeah, net revenue, etc. And then this one here, the gross profit, is actually a calculated field. So the gross profit is net revenue minus the cost of goods sold. And the way to achieve this has been by using a calculated field. So calculated fields are over here. I'm just going to go to the editor so we can see the calculation. So the calculation is very simple, right? We use the report field net revenue minus report field COGS. And the result is this new field, which is the net revenue, which is, sorry, the gross profit. So, by the way, just to show you quickly, we have extensive formulas in the reports to create, to actually fetch or generate calculations for the reports. We have an extensive documentation as well for that. You can access that by clicking the little icon here, and that explains all of these formulas as well. So basically you can do everything and get also metadata from the report, like the creation date, the creator, for example, or things like the description. But then you can also use fields and do calculations like listing count, max, min, etc. So using these calculated fields, you can actually generate a lot of interesting reports like this one. The profit and loss is always an interesting example because you actually have to create calculations between the different elements of the table. And at the end, you can see this is also a calculated field, which actually takes, again, the previous fields into consideration. All right, and I think on this one, yes, we have actually displayed all of these elements. Yep, okay. But some could have been actually disabled, right? The report footer, for example, is not very useful because there's nothing in there. And then we have also a back cover page where we have a conclusion. All right, let's look at the other example, the hotel guest list. So again, I'm going to show it here. So remember, we can see for each guest the room, etc., and then if they're leaving, the day they're leaving, sorry, and also the services they have paid for. So the way to achieve this is actually to use conditional visibility. So let's have a look at how that works. Okay, back to the reports. Here we have only one grouping, which is the floor level, and that's the content page. I'm just gonna unpin this just to gain some space. All right. And also I'm gonna remove the grid just for clarity. All right, so we are here in the section of the detail section. So that's the lowest level again. And here we can see we have the icons that will show if services were paid for or not. So this one actually uses an icon, which is by default gray. But we have a conditional style here. And the conditional here, if we look at the properties, it says if the report data column called breakfast equal to 1, then we want to show the same icon, but with a different color, and it is visible. So that's how we achieve to display the services. I'm just going to show you the data so that you understand that better. The data behind this looks like this. So that's my hotel list. So we have one row per guest name. And then we can see departure date, arrival date, etc. And then we have these columns with the services. So the breakfast, if there is a 1, it means that person has purchased breakfast. And this way, we can use this information here for the conditional styling. And this ensures that for every guest, we can see these stylings, which are really proper to each guest and the services they have purchased. Same thing for the arrival and leaving date. The condition here is that if we're on the 16th of February, then we want to show that icon in blue. All right, so last example I want to show is something we haven't seen really on the PDF reports. It's the usage of tables. So in fact, you can insert tables into any section of your report, and you can then format that table as a whole, and you can place it wherever you want. So in this case, in this scenario here, I have again my sales, my car sales figures by country and sales rep. You can see this looks a bit nicer than the example I've built very quickly before. And then I have inserted on the group header um, a a table. So the table is available through this widget here. And then once you have dragged it to your editor, you can simply select which columns you want to show. And for each column, you can also decide if you want to have a footer calculation or not. um, and then you can also define each element of the table, how it looks, so the whole table. So here, for example, you can see that we have an automatic height so that it adapts always to how many rows you have in the table. You can also disable that. That's what I've done here. So I have always my top 5 car models sold, top 6 by the way. And then you can also change the elements, each element of the table, the header, the footer, the rows, etc. And you can also define by column exactly what you want to do. For example, for the prices here, we can say, well, this is actually text. And for the footer, you can also change column by column what you want to see. For example, here, the price in the footer is not text; it's a currency, right? So I have chosen that here, and then you can also choose the font, etc., and conditional styling as well everywhere. So the result of that table is interesting. It will show like that. Here we go. We can see for Bryan Adams Canada, we have the table with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows, and then it says 5 more rows. That's because I've chosen that specific height of my table and have not ticked the automatic height. Yeah, well, so the table is actually interesting, right? Because you can use that as well instead of the details element if you wish, and then just play around with that option as well. So there are more options that will and graphic possibilities that will come to the report editor in the future. We're currently working on adding charts as well, things like pie charts or bar charts and etc. So a lot more is coming, and I hope you actually gained information from that webinar. Yeah, so we have covered everything what's possible in reports now. Of course, there are a lot of other possibilities than the example I've shown. Thank you very much and have a good day. Bye.